Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It is part 3, and this is the big one tonight. We are talking strikers. We are talking Cam. We are talking people who score goals. What we are not talking about is McAtee. McAtee didn't want to join us on this little adventure, so he's going to sit his ass in League One. So let's get this going, and let's see who we are going to get to join us.
You know, if I didn't know any better, I'd think Patty was holding a grudge.
The city's ass in League
What makes
One.
you think that? What makes you think that, huh? I don't hold grudges.
Shoot, that was good.
That's so good.
Funny.
So good.
Oh, whoa. How's everybody doing today? Good?
Goals. Let's go.
Let's go. And here's the thing. Goals get expensive at this level.
Yes, we are going to spend some money on these boys.
Yeah.
We are going to break our record again, but how many times and by how much are the big questions for this summer?
Yeah, that is definitely the question. That's been, I'll be honest, this was my hardest one. Today was the hardest one for me because trying to find players that I thought we could afford, but also were productive enough, because if you're producing at this level, you're worth a lot of money usually.
You're worth a lot of money.
Trying to find that happy medium was hard for me.
Let's have some fun. Can we everybody in the comments put in the most amount of money you would happily pay for a striker for Wrexham?
That's a good one.
That'll be interesting to see how high people go before they see what we've come up with for today. Josh is
Chris,
slaving away. I know.
Chris with a banger here. Hey Ken, can we get some Japanese players today? Chris, I'm here to tell you.
No.
You never know with this guy. I'm convinced he's gotten Football Manager and he's been playing because some of these players, I don't know where he pulled them from. It's amazing. Some of these clubs I've never even heard of. So
I have not played a video game in, I'm going to say 20 years. So, since I was a bub, since I was only 5, because, I'm only 25.
Oh, look at some of these.
Look at this. 50 mil out of my pocket, 5 mil, 6 mil, 15 mil for Karma.
Jeez, Hip Karma. She's spending the big bucks.
My upper limit is 10.
Does Aaron classify himself as a striker? We're not signing.
Physical type striker. What kind of a Parky type? I can get in there and bully some people around a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't score much though.
Ollie Palmer.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. I'm not quite as defined in the body, but don't look as good with the shirt off. But
okay, slightly different way around. I think we're going to break at least 5. We're definitely going to pass 5.
I agree.
Yeah, I think so. It'll be interesting to see. That's the thing today. I almost feel like some of mine almost feel underwhelming because I didn't want to go too
crazy.
I didn't know how crazy we're going to go, so I kind of played it fairly safe with some of them. So I don't know.
They're not bad picks though.
Good, solid. Yeah, happy with them. I'd be happy with any of them, but it's just this was tough. Today was a tough one for me.
So answer me this, Aaron. When I put my picks in the private chat, did you then go diving on those guys to see where they were from?
I didn't have time. I was actually finishing. Okay. I was at work finishing up some stuff for my guys. So I was still kind of finishing a few things for me.
Did we go diving on your guys to see their data? It took me half an hour to figure out which clubs they were from.
And I got them in early for you, Patty.
Okay, so now you're getting them in on time. The next one is, can you add what team they're from if it's not a very obvious team?
He's so demanding, this guy. He's so demanding.
He is, for sure. Well, it's techie. 10 gifted locals pundits memberships. Thank you, Welsh Techie.
I've just gotten a photo from our fearless leader who
Hey.
is working. While working, he's watching Three Ugly Guys on YouTube.
I mean, that's fair. That's what I usually do. Carol throwing in some memberships too. Awesome. Love it. One of these days we'll get our fearless leader back on here with us.
He'll be back. He'll be back on the weekend next week. He'll be back.
Yeah, we'll get him. We'll get him back in here.
Let's get this.
But,
let's get this on the road. I just want to get started. I'm excited.
All right, let's get rolling.
Let's go. First up, we have Kieffer Moore, Sheffield United.
The ultimate Parky signing. I think this screams Phil Parkinson. Kieffer Moore, he's 32 years old. He's 6'5". He's a target man. He is very much a Ollie Palmer type. Big guy that, now I think he's probably a better scorer. Now he didn't score a ton of goals this season. He is a Welsh international. I don't know if he's still on. Is he currently on the Welsh? Welsh Techie would know. Is he on the Welsh team right now? Welsh Techie, or was that previously? I should have looked it up. I didn't. But I know he has been in the Welsh national team. But yeah, he's a really good player. I mean, if you watched the Sheffield United Sunderland game, he was in, he played, started. Yeah, he's still a current international. Thank you, Welsh Techie. Yeah, he's a player. He's been around. He's an older guy, a workhorse type of striker. Are we still going to use that type of striker? I don't know. You know what I mean? And that was part of the issue too, because we have kind of went to this one up top system, which he's played a one up top. But obviously you're thinking Sam Smith is probably our starter going into the season. So is Kieffer Moore a backup, or do you throw them up there together? Does we go back to a 2 like we used to play? If we brought him, somebody like him in, I don't know. But he'd be a solid addition. He just screams Parky. We've been with him. It seems like everybody throws his name out there. I don't know if I've seen like a solid link, like where a journalist wrote that, he knows that we've inquired about him. So I don't know that we're interested, but it seems like everybody, when they come up with, they start talking about Wrexham and strikers, Kieffer Moore comes up. And it may just be because he's Welsh, but also because he just fits a Parky type player. He's played at Ipswich. He's played at Bournemouth, Cardiff. He's played all over. 6 goals in all competitions this season.
Did you say he's out of contract?
He is not out of contract. Contract ends in 2027. So we would have to pay for him, but I don't see them holding on to him going. Well, maybe they will. Maybe they will because they stayed down. If they're going to see, originally when I picked him a long time ago, I knew I was going to do him because I thought they're going to Premier League and they'd let him go. They didn't get promoted. So maybe they do keep him around. But I could see him wanting to upgrade that position. I don't necessarily think they're going to want to lean on him, and they'll have the money. They'll have the big money to be able to bring a striker in.
I think they just recently put out their list, and they've removed 11 players, I think.
Have they? I haven't looked at
their. They're doing well. They have said they're doing a big revamp again on their team. So interestingly, their team was good enough to get auto promotion, but yet they've chopped it in half and they're restarting again. So.
Yeah. So he's a good striker. I'd be happy with him. You big man up front, kick the ball up to him. He'll hold it up. Maybe not the best option, but I think he wouldn't cost us a ton of money. So I think it's a viable option, and it wouldn't surprise me if this was the type of player we went for. So
actually, Paddy, how many players does Aaron have today?
10.
10. Wow. Okay, this will be good.
Yes. Okay, ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Next up, we have DKD, Davis Keillor-Dunn, currently with Barnsley, ex of Mansfield. So we came across this boy last season as well.
Yes.
Or season before. League One.
DKD, I think, is the perfect fit for that number 10 role. He fits that role to a T. I think he scores a ton of goals. Now, he hasn't done it at the championship level, and that is the difference with him. So a lot, and he's 27, so he's not young yet. So he's not young. He's not 24. He's not 23. So, but he's in his prime. And he can play for several more years, obviously. But being that he's that age and he hasn't played in the championship yet, is that
how much do you want to spend on him?
Is that the guy that you want? Do you want somebody with more experience? There you go. Well, Techie in the comments. Can he do it at this level is my question. We kept him quiet when he played us. And that's fair. That's a fair comment. And because you don't know.
That's
so while Carol
and John want him.
Yeah. A lot of people do. A lot of people think he's perfect for the role. And I think he is perfect for the role. I don't know. Depending on how much you had to pay, is it worth taking a risk on a guy when you're not sure if he can do it at the level? Yeah, and that's Walsh taking a good point. He has played for Wrexham before. He played for us in the National League. So yeah, we had him for, I think it was 6 months or something. He wasn't there very long. It might have been the season that I think it was the season that got cut short due to COVID, if I remember right. But yeah, he's a really good player. I'd be happy with him. 18 goals, 7 assists. I mean, so he's scoring goals. He's getting other people involved too. I mean, that's a lot of goals, but it is at a League One level. So that's kind of the caveat to that one. So we'll see. So Marie's from SoCal. She ain't holding back. No, he can't. Missed his window, she says. She's full on against
brutal. Marie.
Which, but it's a fair, I get it. I totally get that. So while a lot of people, you got several in the chat that love him and several in the chat, I don't know. And I'm kind of in the middle. I wouldn't be upset if we got him, providing we didn't spend $8 million or something crazy on, because I think if you're going to spend that much, you can get somebody that's done it at the level. But I wouldn't be upset if we got him. Let's put it that way. So yeah, I'm ready.
This is someone exactly for me as well that we wanted him last year. Now, obviously, he left Mansfield, who came up with us. And why would he jump away from Mansfield to us, even because we weren't proven either? And he went to Barnsley, who, have a track record, but just fucked up this season. And considering they didn't do so well, and he scored 18 and 7, like he was a monster. But it was a monster in League One. And the question now becomes, how much are you going to pay for him? Are we willing to pay 5 million now? I'm just throwing a number out there. Let's say 5 million and give him a 4-year contract. So then he's 30, 31 coming up at the end of the contract. We've paid the extra 5 million. He's not worth it anymore. Unless, even if he is, we might make some of it back, but how much? It's a dodgy one. It really is. Could be amazing, could be absolutely worth the money. But too late.
I wouldn't take him.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't.
I would. But I understand the negative. Like, I understand the other side. I totally get both sides. I just think a player, okay. If he was on our team, okay, let's say we had got him last season.
Yeah.
And then last season in League One, he scored 18 goals and 7 assists. We would be expecting him to be our starter this season.
Absolutely.
So there you go. So I understand. Yeah, you don't have to pay the big money. The big money is the difference. Having to pay for it now.
The problem with that scenario is he didn't score 18 and 7 for us. He scored 18 with 7 in a different team, in a different formation, in a different system. So that's the counterbalance to it. But
that's fair. Yeah. Totally fair.
Okay.
Totally fair.
Moving on. Ken, you're up. So who's Ken gone with first? Switching it up again.
Switching up our 10 role. Kanya Fujimoto. Carol wanted a Japanese player. Here you go. You got one. He's come out. He's 25 years old now. He has represented Japan in all their youth teams. Hasn't cracked it in the national team yet. But that's not saying much because it is a quality team, Japan, a hard team to crack into. He plays in the Portuguese league at the moment, 25, left-footed, 5 goals, 5 assists this season. He's played 30 matches, started 28 of them. This guy, you get to watch some highlights of this guy. He, with the ball at his feet and his creative activity is unbelievable. And he hits all the metrics for a forward, a striker. He's like 5 goals, penalty goals 1. He's 40 shots, 13 shots on target. This guy is dynamite with the ball at his feet and would be a great player for us. If you want somebody that can play either a cam or a different style of 10. So, we'd probably, and he's out of contract. So you're not having to pay a transfer fee. He replaces J. Rod Murray. That's who he replaces.
Okay. Now, I have speculated we could potentially need 2 for that position.
Mm-hmm.
So if that was to come about, then the idea of someone like this as one of the 2, that could be good.
Absolutely. He is currently injured, John. He's due to come back from injury very soon, though. Not major, so still plenty of time before the start of the season. And I'd happily have him for around that sort of $3 million mark as a 25-year-old. His career is on the up. He is improving year on year at the moment. So he's not at his peak yet. So that's why I like this guy. There's lots of upside, and he is fit. He is fast. He covers a lot of ground. He's like a Rathbone, but up front.
Okay.
I like that one. I really do. I do like that one a lot.
Yeah, outside the box, but does look good and hit a lot of the key points we're looking for.
I noticed John posted in there. So you've been looking at Birmingham people. Is Birmingham interested in him, John? Is that what you're saying there? I'm not sure if I. See, so okay. Not what Birmingham's journals say, Ken. Unlikely to be fit before the start of the season. Okay. So Birmingham have been looking into him. There you go.
I have not been looking at Birmingham rumours, John. I found him all on my own in doing some homework.
Yeah, football manager. He's playing football manager. We know your homework.
Could not care less what Birmingham do, as long as they finish below Wrexham this year in the championship.
Yeah, well, do you know what though? Let's be fair about it. If Birmingham have been looking at this guy, and maybe now have backed off because he might need a bit of time to come back from injury, this could potentially be an absolute steal.
Yeah.
Being out of contract, if he has that sort of potential, and look, if we have to do without him for a couple of months, even, this could be worth the money.
Mm-hmm.
Could be worth the money. And maybe he would actually be happy enough to take the deal, knowing that he's not going to be registered for the first half of the season. Gets a full half of the season to bet in with the team and come in January.
I'm coming in hot, guys. I'm coming in hot.
Ooh.
I like that one. I do like that one. That's a fun one.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Okay, next up, we have Oli McBurnie. What a name there, huh?
Yes, Oli McBurnie. He is okay. So interestingly, he was playing in La Liga with La Palmas. They got relegated, and apparently he's got a relegation release clause that allows him to go on a free.
Okay.
So he is free. I actually spotted him. I'll just be straight honest with you. I saw him linked to Swansea, and I thought, oh, who's this? So I started looking. I was like, I actually really like him. Screw Swansea. Don't let them have him. Let's get him. You know what I mean? If Swansea can get him, we can get him. That's the way I'm looking at it. So yeah, I saw that, and I just saw rumors popping up on X. So, but yeah, he was at Sheffield United before that. Before he moved to La Palmas, and he scored in the 23-24 season for Sheffield United. He scored 6 and 3 assists. The year before that was 15 and 2. Year before that, didn't score as much 1 and 2, so I'm not sure. I don't know if he had injury. He played less games too, so he had a couple years there together. He was a little light on games, so I don't know if he had an issue, issue with knees or something like that. So see, that's okay. See, it's funny. John Merrill says he doesn't pass. He won't pass the dickhead test. That's crazy because I was going to say the opposite because when I was looking stuff up, I read a story and they just randomly mentioned that he seemed like a really nice guy. And so I was like, I was going to try literally that's in my notes. It's funny that you said he won't pass the dickhead test. That's interesting. I don't obviously I wouldn't know, but I was reading one of the things I was reading about him, and it was an older article from a few years ago, because I was just trying to learn something about him, and it just randomly I was just trying to see how he was, not as a player, or as a player, not how his attitude was, but they just threw that out there. So so he must be a nice guy. So that's interesting. But no, he did. Now here was his big move. His big move was in the 2019-2020 season. Sheffield United bought him for $20 million. So they spent some serious cash on him. Now, the year before that, he had scored 22 goals in the championship. So the 2018-2019 season. So he's scored at this level. And he's made a big move. I mean, it's there. He's got that quality. This season with La Palmas, 5 goals and 6 assists in all competitions. I think 3 and 6 in the league. So yeah, I really like this signing. I think I'd like this. He's 6'2", so he's not a big giant guy, but he's a good physical striker up front. He's see, I had a few notes written down I was trying to find. Yeah, he's let's see, strengths. He's described as being comfortable on the ball, determined in press and defense. And having the ability to win aerial duels also. So he's a good. That's the kind of player Parky likes. Strong in defense, and not afraid to get it. He's going to win his air battles in the air. I think he'd be a good pickup. Probably he'd play up front as the striker. Not necessarily. I wouldn't see him as a 10. So he'd probably be a competition for Smith up front if we brought him in. So. All righty, let's go.
Yep. Boom. Marcus Harness from Ipswich.
Marcus Harness. So
/ Derby.
Yeah, he was on loan at Derby this season. I gotta admit, if I just looked at his stats, I don't know that I'd be super excited. But I watched him play a couple times. I watched some Derby games this season. And I really liked him. I really liked watching him play. He worked really hard, I thought, at least in the games I watched. He would get in, make tackles. He'd get in. He was solid in defense. I think he's a player that could play either of those roles. I think he could play in the attacking midfield and also play up front. A lot of times they went with 5-3-2, and so he was playing off a big guy. Or a more physical player, not necessarily a tall guy, but he was playing off of a more physical player. He's 6 foot. He's 29 years old. That's the other thing. So he's not necessarily young, but still in his prime though. Still, at a high end. But yeah, they played him up front. I think he's. I think he could be really good. I really liked him. He worked super hard. He only scored 4 in 3 this season for Derby. But like I said, that's one that I really like. Just the eye. He passed the eye test for me. You know what I mean? Just me watching him, I really like. And this was before we were even doing. This was long ago. This was months ago. I was watching him. I thought, I like him. That's somebody I wouldn't mind. And he was on loan to them, and apparently he. Believe he's being sold. I don't think so. I gotta double check my notes. No, he is. He's out of contract, so he's on a free. So Harness is on a free, and so we should, that's one you can get for nothing. You know what I mean? So maybe you pay him a little more to get him. Derby definitely want him. Last I saw, they were definitely interested. in bringing him in on a permanent, but as far as I know, that hasn't happened yet. I did check and I couldn't find anything. So yeah, that's one I think he'd be great. I think he'd be fantastic. And like I said, he could play either of those roles. He could play the 10 or he could play up front, I think. Up front in the 2 or up front by himself even. And he's really good on the ball. His ball, his dribbling skills, I think, were pretty good. So yeah, I really like Marcus Harness, and like I said, he's on a free, so that's a cheaper option for us. So yeah, any thoughts on him?
I like him.
Yeah, some calls like this are going to be very interesting to show what sort of depth we want this season.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially up front, not everybody can play every match. We're going to need additional players. Yeah. So if we bring in some free agents like this to bulk up the squad, it's going to mean moving off some of our other talent that's there.
Yeah.
So how seriously are they willing to do that will be very interesting.
Yeah.
How many strikers in our 25, Paddy?
5 at least between the two positions. There'll be 5, 6 between the two positions. Yeah. Because as it is, Parky is swapping out both of the strike team, and I expect him to do that again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. It's worked for him. It's his consistent. He doesn't swap people early, but he does swap them out to 70 minutes, and both strikers generally get changed.
You're right.
So
he would be a perfect interchange player. This guy.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: Do you think he does that though, because of the players we're using? Because you notice, like Smith, he'd leave on longer.
Mm-hmm.
Smith, he'd play a lot longer than he would J-Rod. J-Rod would come off at 68, 70 minutes, whatever. And so I think if you had a player like Marcus Harness, he could probably go longer, probably go 90 if you wanted him to. So now I know Parky likes to freshen things up, so maybe he still would want to do that. You know what I mean?
The question for me, though, is with that sort of depth, if you're going to have real depth, you want someone who could challenge and steal the number 1 spot.
Yeah.
That's the question as well, is if you want real depth, you want at least as good coming off the bench, which means they have a shot of taking the number 1 spot and making the other player drop down to the bench. And we know Parky has switched it before.
Yeah.
So that's what you want here, is to tell someone, look, you're probably not my starting number 1, but you can take it. I'm not against you fighting for the position if you prove yourself.
For me, if we brought Marcus Harness in, I think he'd be our 10. I think he'd slot in at our 10. And maybe if you did want to make sub, maybe if J-Rod comes in with 10 minutes left, or 15, maybe that gives him a better chance to go a little harder instead of trying to maybe he becomes our Fletcher, So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see, but I think 10 would, if I had to pick, I'd play Marcus Harness at the 10. That's where I'd play him.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So now we go international again for Ken. Nelson Weiper. Mainz.
Young guy. We're off to the Bundesliga. Yeah. So this guy is definitely a target man. He's 192 centimeters tall. He's only 20 years old, so under 21, wouldn't count in the squad list.
That's what we want.
Yep. This, right-footed, obviously going to cost, 5-6 mil. He is out of contract, so that's a good thing. He played 23 matches, started 7 of them this season for 3 goals and 2 assists. He is definitely the sort of guy that you stick up front as a target, and he is going to be great off set pieces with his head. So this guy is definitely the sort of player, depending on the style we want to play. I've gone totally opposite here from the Fujimoto to Weiper in terms of the style that you'd play, the type of position that type of role they would play. But the reason I really like this guy is, again, I'm picking players that are on the up and have upside for us in the years to come. So, I think that would be the sort of role that this guy would play. And, he is, he has the skills. He knows how to find the goal. He just needs the service. And that's going to come back to midfield and cams, giving that sort of supply.
That's interesting. That's an interesting one. That's one that it's just like, okay, would he want to move to the championship? That would be a question. Would he be looking for a move to one of the bigger clubs in the Bundesliga? You know what I mean? Is he good enough for a move like that? But that's interesting. Like, that's the kind of player you find. You find him there and bring him over if he wanted to come, and could get a gym for cheap.
Is this the sort of thing find on? Is this the sort of thing you find on Football Manager? Is it?
This is the guy. This is the guy that you're just sitting there, and your technical director or your sporting director sends you an email and says, "Hey, I found this guy," and you're like, "Where in the hell did this come from? And how did you find him?" Yeah, that's how the game works. You can have your setup where your technical director suggests random players to you, and this is the kind of guy that would definitely pop up.
Yeah,
it's random dudes from anywhere.
Yeah,
but
you get a guy under 21, not counting on your squad list.
Yeah,
this is excellent. So this is the sort of guy that I really liked. He was one of my under 21, so stay tuned, more to come.
Yeah, I want somebody under 21 like this, who is happy enough with their own skills that bring me in, I'll show you what I can do. Yeah. And he's happy he'll steal the spot from everybody,
And he could.
He
absolutely could.
Yeah. And he essentially has all
Bundesliga.
And he has given himself an entire season to do it. Because obviously, he only needs the spot by the end of the season, because then the following year he needs a spot in the team. So this year he's the entire year to break in and show he's better than what we have. Yeah,
I've had lots of fun with today's show with my picks. There's some real good ones. I'm enjoying watching Aaron's because I haven't done any homework on any of Aaron's, so I'm enjoying watching Aaron's more balanced approach to this. Whereas I'm like, let's go for it. Let's really have a crack. And I don't know, Aaron might have some in there like that too, because I just don't know.
No, not really. Nobody. I don't have anybody crazy. I stay pretty close to home.
Okay. So, Tom Lawrence, 31. Now we've got a Wrexham player.
Yeah.
He's over 30.
And to be fair, we have been linked. We've been linked to Tom Lawrence, it seems like, the last 2 or 3 windows.
Forever.
So he's not a new name, but he does kind of fit that role. You know what I mean? It makes sense. He can play now. He's played up top too, so he can play both the 10 and the striker. I was going through some games. It seemed like most of the time he's played at Rangers, and most of the time at Rangers, when they'd bring him off the bench and he'd come in and play as the up top striker. But there were a few times where they bring him in and play him at a 10. Just kind of, I think it depended on what they were doing. They kind of changed. Of course, they had some managerial change this season, so that kind of changed how they play. How they set up, how they lined up. So they changed their formation a few times through the season, and we're doing some different things. So it kind of messed with him. But I think he could play at 10. It does seem like the kind of player that Parky really likes. He's got good. He's what am I trying to say? He's a good player, but he's knowledgeable. He's been around. I'm trying to think of the right word, but he's been around. He's done it. Experience, yes. Thank you. God, why can I not think of that word? Experienced player. But yeah, so Walsh Techie, great player for Cymru. Yeah, absolutely. See what wonderful player under Lampard, but the way it all ended at Derby killed his career in a way. And see, I don't know enough about how all that went down. But yeah, he's a good player. I think he'd be. I think it just screams Parkinson, and he's one of those players. Like it seems like we do get, and we talked about this yesterday. We get linked with a player, and then they just kind of linger, and that name continues to linger, and eventually we end up with them, or at least we try to get them. You know what I mean? We do eventually go in for them. So yeah, he's had some. Yeah, going back looking at his career. So the last few years at Rangers, he's not played as much. But so this season, in all competitions, he's got 6 goals and 2 assists. Last season, it was 3 and 3. Season before, it was 3 and 1. But then you go back before that, and he was at Derby in the championship. He played 39 games, scored 11, and had 5 assists, and he averaged a 7.1 rating. So he was, he's a good, solid player. I think, it just screams Parkinson, 31, experienced. He knows what he's doing, knows where he needs to be, hard worker from what everybody said, and he's not afraid to defend. So I think it's I think it'd be a good pickup, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's a guy we end up with. Just like I said, just because we've been linked with him for so long.
Okay. Ken, good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Let's move on.
Okay. Next up, Jamie Donley from Leyton Orient / Spurs.
Yes, Jamie Donley. So Jamie Donley is an interesting one. He played last season at Leyton Orient, and was really good. Now, of course, it's in League One. He sorry, I'm trying to bring him up on my phone, Bob, so I can go through this stuff a little better.
20 years old, so he's only young.
20, yes, young player. From Spurs. This season he had 8 goals and 10 assists, 7.15 rating. Played 39 matches. So yeah, he was on loan from Tottenham. Obviously, I don't think they're ready to sell him yet, but I think they did say that he is going to be loaned out again. I would assume they're going to look to loan him out to a championship club this year. Yeah, it would make sense that you would want to bring him. They'd want to put him in a championship team.
This is a player for us. You thinking?
This would be This would be like this would be a high-end loan signing, I think, for us. And he could play that attacking midfielder. If you remember, we played when we played them, it was at home, and I want to look up his rating for that game. Yeah, he was okay. Yeah, I thought so. I remembered him eating us alive, and he got on Fought Mob. He got man of the match. He got with an 8.5 rating. Let's see. It was
I already hate him so much I want him.
yeah. So he scored a goal, should have had an assist, was all over. He was eating us alive in the press, his pressing. If you guys remember, we were like, these guys were just eating us up.
They were.
They just had us pinned back. We couldn't do anything, and they were eating us alive. And he was a big part of that. He was all over the place. I thought he was fantastic. And yes, he did. John Merrill in the chat, he did score a great goal against it. He scored a good goal against us. Yeah, I remembered him just from that. I was like, God, he's good, And then because I thought they were going to take off from there. They went on a winning streak there.
Yeah,
they had won like 12 or something, and we were the last win. Yeah, they beat us, and then they lost like 8 in a row or something stupid. It was crazy. So
yeah. My question with this one then, though, is obviously back to the same thing about loans. One, do we want a loan that may get recalled in January? And two, are we going to give him a spot in the squad, considering he's 20, but loans count? So he will take up a spot.
Yeah, I would, if he's good enough. I think he's good enough. I'd be perfectly happy with it. I know, like you were talking about, maybe we bring in two at that 10 spot. So if you bought one, so let's say you bought him, you picked up a Marcus Harness on a free,
Mhm.
and then you bring him in on loan, I think I'd be pretty happy with that. You know what I mean? I think that'd be fantastic. But I honestly think he's good enough. He'd be playing for us week in, week out. And it's the other thing got to remember too. Win the championship, there's a lot of Saturday, Tuesday,
Yeah.
Religiously,
a lot of 3-game weeks because this season, what we got to remember, we got the international breaks now, so our games get squeezed together. They're not as spread out as they were, even though we were playing less competitions.
And we start a week later.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of games close together. So
on the Paddy's cautionary tale there of him getting recalled, do you think he's good enough to get recalled to play for Hotspur?
Well, it may not be that. It may. Let's say if he came to us, and let's say we weren't playing that well, and maybe we were at the bottom of the championship, and they just weren't. And they wanted to get him in a higher. They could move him to one of the teams up towards the top, and where he's pushing for promotion. They can make that kind of move.
I'm just going to stop you there, Aaron. There's no way you can blaspheme on this show and say we're going to be down the bottom. That's just not
going to. I was just saying that's a possibility. So it's not necessary. It doesn't necessarily. He wouldn't have to go to Tottenham to go, but he's. I think he'd be a fantastic loan signing myself. So
there's Josh in the chat. He's obviously got to get back to work. He's slaving away at the moment, doing it hard, trying to earn a living. But no. And Carol in HR said he would prefer the Fujimoto guy. I really want Fujimoto. But anyway, let's keep moving.
Okay. Next up, we go international again with Ken.
It's back to me. Back in the Bundesliga.
Lemperle. FC Köln.
Striker, 23 years old. He's 10 goals, 6 assists this season. This guy is an absolute target, and he's a big body, 186 centimeters tall. Plays a position, probably cost us. He is out of contract. I'm pretty certain. I will just check that because there was one or two of my players that weren't out of contract, and I'm just making sure that he wasn't one of them. So just give me a second here. Yep, there he is, and I am just making sure of that now. Contract ends. No, he is out of contract this year. So, but he is a good target up front. He's, again, very similar to Weiper, just one of those players that is, a target. He's older, though, so he's not going to be under 21, but that's fine. He's rating 7.35, and he scores his goals all from in close. He's like that big guy, gets in, holds position, headers, balls being passed into him, those little flick-on goals close in the box is his style of play. So this guy is a good target. He's not as much of a creative player as some of the others that I've picked, but he's that sort of big man that can score.
Okay.
That's another one. I like that one.
Yeah,
especially on a free. That's crazy on a free.
Age range is nice, and we can afford to wait a little bit till he kind of beds in with the team and figures out how to work within our system. He's young enough to do it. Yeah,
and even paying 3 to 4 million for a striker, like that's good value.
Yeah.
So upside, you find he could end up being a big player. It's a matter of whether he wants to come across and play in the UK. So we'll see.
Okay.
But a good one that I liked, I just thought there's interesting type player. But my middle ones are fun. I finished with a banger. But anyway, let's keep moving on. Let's get back to Aaron.
Okay. Next up, we have Ryan Hardie. Now, this is a familiar name. We have been linked to Ryan Hardie a few times. 28 from Plymouth.
Yes. Ryan Hardie is a good one. I like Hardie. Like you said, we've been linked to him for a while. I think he's the type of... So he had an interesting season. He ended the season in all competitions with 12 goals and 3 assists, that's a good return. But what's crazy is he went like 3 months without scoring at the beginning of the season. I think he scored 1 goal. At least in the championship, he scored 1 goal before January. So, and then he ended up with 10 total. So he went on a hell of a run after January. And what I found is they changed. Well, obviously they brought in a new manager and they changed things around a little bit, and they started playing him as more of a. They played like a 3-4-3, but they kind of played 2 10s behind a striker instead. It wasn't 2 wide players necessarily. They did get out wider, because they had separation from each other, but they weren't wingers, what you would call a straight winger. So he was playing a 10 role with another 10, who we'll get to. Hint, hint. And he all of a sudden just lit up and just started scoring goals like crazy. So he got super hot. I think he's a player to come in and play that 10 role for us, and could be really good. Now he will cost us some money. Let me double check my notes. He is contracted until 2026, so he's in his last season of his contract, or going into his last season of contract. So if they wanted to sell him, now would be the time. The fact they got relegated, he may want to push a move. He may want out. I don't know. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen anything to say whether he was going to stay or go. So we don't know. But we're not the only championship team that'll be looking at him. I think there was a handful of others I saw, including Derby, I think, was interested. There were some others. I think Oxford maybe possibly were interested. I can't remember. But there was a handful. So there's definitely some championship teams that are interested in Ryan Hardie. But he's just a solid player. He consistently will score goals. He seems, and maybe it's just because of this season, but he seems streaky. But I'll tell you, he went on a hell of a streak this season. So that from January till the end of the season, he went off. It went crazy. So this season he finished in all comps 12-3. Last season he had 13 goals and 4 assists. The season before, which was League One, he had 17-4. All these are for Plymouth. So the last 2 seasons were in the championship, and then that one with 17 goals, he was in League One. And then the year before that in League One, he scored 19 and had 5 assists. So he's a player he can score goals. He's proven that he can score at this level. He's scored double-digit goals, 2 years in a row now at this level, and he's getting some assists too. I think he'd be a good pickup. He works hard.
Hazard brings axes with you.
What's that?
Hazard brings axes with you. He wants him.
Yeah. Yes. I was going to bring that up. It's in my notes. Hazard brings axes. Beat Liverpool. Yes, he did. So when Plymouth beat Liverpool in the FA Cup, he scored the winning goal. It was a penalty, so just throw that out there. It was a penalty, but he's really good. Let's see, John Merrill. That's a good point, John. He said, I think he didn't see eye to eye with Rooney. That's fair enough. Yeah, Wayne Rooney was their coach at the beginning of the season, and they struggled. They had a tough go of it, and he definitely did. But as soon as they brought in, I believe his name's Muslich, the new coach, which I think he's leaving, going to the Bundesliga. But he's, which is another reason he may want to leave now, because that coach is leaving. So yeah, it's as soon as he came in, he started scoring goals like crazy. So I watched him. I watched a couple games with Plymouth. He looked, just because we'd been linked to him, it was around the January time. I was watching him. I think he either scored a hat trick or a double one of the games. I think he scored 5 goals in 3 games. He had a streak right around that time where so he just went off. I think he'd be a fantastic player for us. I think I don't think he'd cost a ton either, So I think they've shown there around $2 million. That's probably that's probably in the ballpark. I think that's not far off, and I think at this level, a player that can score goals consistently at this level, I think that'd be great. So I'm all in for. I'd be super happy if we brought in Ryan Hardie. I think it'd be a great one. Any thoughts?
No, been linked for ages. Definitely in around what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't mind this. I think that's not a bad buy. It's interesting. Like, I'm an experienced player, very Parky-esque. This one.
Yeah.
All right.
Parky-esque.
So
next up, who do we have?
Well, we don't have to go far.
Oh, look at this.
So don't have to go far.
Today, Aaron has left Luton Town alone, and he's into Plymouth Argyle.
Sorry about it.
And what was John's comment? I'd rather have the other Plymouth lad who is out of contract. Is this the other Plymouth lad?
I believe this would be the one. Yeah, there you go. I want to. I actually agree with John. I think of the
Mustapha
two,
Bundu.
I think I'd rather have Bundu. He's.
I looked at
really
this guy,
good.
Aaron.
He's 6'2". He's 28. They actually used him both as the striker in that same formation I was just talking about. They used him up front as the striker, also in the 10, and he scored goals from both. He's really good. I was literally watching highlights before we went on the show. He's really good with the ball at his feet. He will beat a player. He's fast. He's also physical. I love him. I really like him. He's on a free. They did try to re-sign him, and he's not signing that contract. He has let it be known that he's going to move on. So he's going to be on a free. I know Blackburn Rovers were linked to him today, so they're definitely interested. And I'm sure there's going to be other teams. He scored 10 goals and 6 assists this season. Little background on him, other seasons further back. So last season, here's the thing. He's not scored a ton every year. So he's kind of this is his first big season. Like, he had a big season this season. So this is his first big season where he scored a bunch of goals. Before this, last season, he had 3 goals and 2 assists. Season before that, he was at FC Andorra, scored 3 and 2. The year before that, it was AGF, 3 and 2. Then he was at Anderlecht. Anderlecht picked him up. Barely played. He only played 2 games for them, so I don't know what happened there. Then he was on loan. Anderlecht sent him out on loan. One season he had 1-1. So he wasn't scoring a ton of goals earlier in his career. He did have one season back in 2019-2020 at AGF where he scored. He played 30 games, scored 10, and had 8 assists. So he's always been a guy that's or not always, I guess, but he's a guy that he gets goals and assists, though. You know what I mean? He's not just a goal scorer. He's not just an assist guy.
Well, John has an interesting comment here that may partially explain that. John says he is a winger, he believed. He ended up playing up top due to injuries. After that, he didn't play elsewhere. They never put him back.
Yeah.
So if he had started out on the wing and was getting inconsistent results out there, maybe it wasn't his best position. And then when they moved him up front, he just naturally took to it. So he's been left there since. Yeah,
that's very possible. I know from what I saw, he was, they had him playing in that 10, the same 10 with Ryan Hardie. Him and Ryan Hardie were playing next to each other, basically, behind a striker. They had another big guy who was more of a target man. But then there were occasions where they played Bundu up top, probably due to injuries. But he was scoring then too. So I like him. I think he's fantastic. I think he'd be a great one. I think of the two, if I had my pick, it's probably Bundu. I think he's faster, more speed. And if he's starting to get it figured out at this level, boy, I think you turn him loose. And he'll defend too. He's willing to defend too. So I I'd be super happy.
I like this guy. I like this.
I love him. I
Yeah.
like him a lot. So
Okay. Next up, we are back international. Ken, you're up. We have Emil Riis Jakobsen, Preston North
Yes,
End.
he is an international player, but he is my only player that's been playing in the
In
EFL.
EFL.
Yes,
Yeah.
In the championship, scored 12 goals this season with 2 assists. He's 26 years old. This is an experienced player in the championship. This is a guy that if Parky's looking for, this is a Parky type player. He's solid. He works hard. He knows how to score. He scored plenty of goals in the championship. He had 12 this season. He had 6 the season before, 5 the season before that. The season before that, in 21-22, he had 20 goals for the season. He had 16 of those in the championship games. So, this is a guy that, from 23 through till now has been just experienced and in this league. Like now, the plus is here is that Preston finished not far out of the relegation zone.
Yeah.
He is out of contract. So the question is he happy at Preston North End? And does he think they'll stay up? Or if we were looking at a player like this and taking to target a player like this, are we a more attractive club to come to?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's an interesting. I looked at he was on my list. I decided to leave him out for today, but he was one of the few. He was one of the several. I had probably 20 that I was looking at. And he was one of them. I liked him too. Yeah, only 20. Yeah, he was a good one. I liked him.
Yeah. So there we go. That's my thoughts on him. We'll leave it short.
Is he Icelandic? I think he is.
Sorry. Yeah, he is from Denmark.
Oh, Denmark, Danish. Okay.
Yeah, he's Danish. So not far from home.
Not far from
travel
me.
home time to time, like only a short flight. So yeah, but I don't know. I don't agree with you overall, Paul John, but that's just that's me. But anyway, let's get on to Aaron's next one because I know Aaron's still probably got about 10 players to go. How many players you got left, Aaron? Probably another.
No,
just a couple.
More.
Oh wow! Okay,
3 more total. We're nearly there. Yeah.
Cool.
On time as usual. I'm running it. We're cool.
Okay.
Next up, we have this little boy, Rubin Colwill, who needs to stop dyeing his hair. I was looking at all the pictures and I saw all the transitions. There's the dark hair, there's the bright blonde when he first did it, and this ugly looking picture of two-tone color. Come on, man, you got the money. Do your hair.
You're just showing your age now, Paddy.
I just want to throw this. I want to throw this out there.
Go on.
Anybody else think he looks like Ryan Reynolds?
No.
In the face. You don't think so?
Really? But anyway, that's just I don't see it.
I think you got to remind me. All right. Anyway, Rubin Colwill. So he's obviously younger. Apparently he's pretty well liked at Cardiff. The only reason we might be able to get him is because they got relegated. He is still under contract. Let's see. He's under contract till 2027. So we may not be able to get, you know what I mean? But yeah, he's, we'll see. I don't know if he'd want to leave. If he's even interested.
They're in League One now.
Yeah, exactly, and that would be our chance at it. He's 6'2", 23. He scored a goal, had 4 assists. I think he's been coming in mostly as a sub this season, so he's not getting a ton of game time. But just scrolling through his matches, it seems like he gets really high ratings when they start him. So he played 70 minutes against Preston. He had a 7.5 rating. Played 90 minutes against QPR. Had a 7.5 rating. Played 53 minutes against Blackburn. 7.2 rating. 90 minutes against Sunderland. 7.2 rating. So he's it seems like if they let him play, he does really well. So I mean I don't know what the story is there, but most of his appearances though were off the bench. It seems like to me, at least a handful of them. Yeah. So in the FA Cup, it looks like his best match of the season. Played the whole 120 minutes against Stoke. Scored a double and had a 9.2 rating. So yeah, he's an interesting one. I think he'd be great. He's a young guy. He can learn, off of some of the players we have. And here's the other thing with him that's interesting. They play him all over the place. They played him at central mid, as a central midfielder. They played him as a 10. They played him as a winger. I didn't see where they played him as a striker, but I wouldn't doubt that he could do it at 6'2". So it seems like a guy that could play all in a lot of places, I know it was funny. What was funny, there were some questions yesterday while we were doing the show. I can't remember who it was. Somebody in the chat asked about him yesterday when we were going over central mids and the midfielders. And it's because he's played there. But I knew I had him on the list for today, so I didn't say nothing. But yeah, he can play anywhere. He can play anywhere in that midfield, upper, forward midfield, attacking midfield, winger, which we don't play the wingers, but so I have no doubt he could play the 10 for us, and I think that's where I would put him. And he's 6'2". Parky likes a little bigger guy. You hit the ball. I'm sure he's gonna be good in the air. So yeah, I think I like him a lot. But his defensive work, I think, is really good. His defensive stats are pretty high. So yeah, I like him as a young player. I mean, obviously he's not under 21, so he's still taking a roster spot. But he's young enough that he's going to develop and he's going to get better. So I honestly don't know what he'd cost. I don't know if they'd want to sell him, but I think I'd be interested in him.
So, fair enough.
Yep.
This could be a decisive problem for Colwill now, because he's under a serious contract with Cardiff, and if they don't want to release him, he could screw his whole career here. If they have a bad season next year and they just will not release him, he could be in trouble. Let's hope not. For him, for his future.
For him, Cardiff have to go straight back up.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. Okay, next up, we have George Honeyman from Millwall currently, but people will know him of Sunderland fame from the documentary.
So maybe Aaron isn't recruiting for Millwall. He's gone hunting at Millwall.
Try to steal one from him. Currently, his contract runs out this season. They have offered him a contract. As of the last I checked, he hasn't signed it yet, but they're in according to the club, they're in negotiations. I have not seen anything beyond that. So is he exploring his options? He could be available. Honeyman's another guy that can play all over the place. I think he can play the 10 for sure. They've been playing him as a winger more. Obviously we don't use wingers. He could also, I think he's another one. I think he could play central midfield for us too. Where Dobson plays, or Rathbone, either one of those spots.
Makes him attractive.
Yeah, he's John Merrill, absolute definition of a journeyman. I would agree. Yes, he is a journeyman. He's definitely a journeyman. But he's, just hard-nosed player, works hard. He's, as far as I can tell, at least on the documentary, they made it look like he had a good attitude. He seemed like a nice dude. Don't know if maybe he's an asshole. Who knows? but came off good in the documentary at least. If you watched Esteban, if you watched Sunderland Till I Die, he was in the first season. They used him a lot in that. They focused on him for a good chunk of that documentary. But I think he's I think he's the type of player that could come in and just make the squad better. Maybe he doesn't start every week, but he brings up he raises the bottom. You know what I mean? It brings up where we're starting from. Off the bench, unbelievable. Really good option off the bench. So where we would play him, I'm not sure. I think, like I said, I tagged him as an attacking mid because I think he plays further forward most of the time and he has most of his career. But I think he can play that central midfield role for us if we wanted him to. And he's a hard worker, and Parky loves a hard worker. So yeah, I mean, are there better players out there? Sure. But I think this is one where you raise the floor, raise the floor, make the sun, make the team better. And I think I think he'd be a great signing, just to make us better overall. So yeah, I really like George Honeyman. Like I said, he'd be on a free, so wouldn't cost us a ton. That's if he doesn't re-sign with Millwall, and he may have already done it. I don't know, but 30 years old, so he's not a young guy, but he's getting there.
Okay. Now, last one up is for Ken. Who do we have? We have Archie Goodwin. Look at the head on that. Look at that lettuce, huh?
Welcome down under, people.
Let us to the match.
Yeah, let us to the match. 20 years old, top scorer in the A-League so far this season with 13 goals. So under 21, absolute out-and-out striker with his foot or the head. Good with the headers, good with the feet, and literally 0 assists. When this guy gets the ball, all he's thinking about is back of the net. He is a pure out-and-out striker, and massively on the up. Massively on the up. So he does not like he gets in front of the box and shoots. So this is the sort of kid that would be replacing a Sam Smith. I don't know that he would have to prove himself to get a start over Sam Smith, though, at this point in his career. Yeah. But he's the sort of guy that we'd pick up now for $1 million and in 2 years sell him for 10.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, he's played 26 matches, so he's on 13 goals and 26. That's 0.5 goals per game. That's a good return.
Goal every other game.
That's a good return.
Yep. Now, admittedly, that's in the A-League, which I would say the A-League is the equivalent of League One.
Okay.
Yep, I'd say it's the equivalent of League One. That'd be a fair assessment, I think. But this guy is, well, see, the reason you gamble on this guy, John, is because he costs you next to no money, and you can have him in your squad. Doesn't count on your squad.
Yeah.
And
exactly
you can make money out of a kid like this if he doesn't work out.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
This is exactly what I mentioned. I think in our last one, in the midfield one, this is where we could afford to gamble a little bit and bring in some extra players if they're hitting this 19-20 age range. Spend a couple of million, bring them in, and give them the season to prove themselves, to try and break into the team by the end of the season. And then, look, they can be with us for a couple of years. And if we don't go up within those couple of years, maybe they prove themselves to be too good for the championship and we sell them on to the Prem before we get there. Absolutely. And worst case scenario, if they don't make the grade, it's only cost you $1 million.
That's right.
You leave them out, you send them on loan to the League One or another weak championship team at that point.
There's very little downside in this kid and lots of upside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason he's the top scorer in the A-League this season. I mean, he can play.
I imagine, he's going to be getting looks. If he, at 20 years old, 13 goals, he's leading the A-League. He's going to be getting looks from clubs, if he's a guy that wants to make the move. If he wants to go make the move from the market, he'll be getting looks from bigger clubs for sure. You know, you just want to. I mean, that's the kind of guy you could see somebody like, you know, I don't know, name random big Premier League club. You know, just to grab, just like Patty said, what he got in it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
For $1 million, let's see if we can develop him and nothing else, turn a profit on him.
That's right. Yeah.
But for us, I think you could, that's the type of player that you could develop and actually use. You know, that's interesting. I like that. That's a great shout. Great shout, Kip. I like that one.
Yeah. So John here, again, I just worry about his level that he's played at now. Maybe buy him and loan him out. Yeah. My way of doing this would be, you bring him in, you keep him with the team for 6 months. The reason being is Parky doesn't play like everybody else. I would want to keep him with the team for 6 months, train him in our style, and see if he can progress the way Parky wants him to. If Parky knows he's not going to make the team, then you send him out on loan in January.
Yeah.
And then
prior to that, plays, well, you might get an FA Cup start, get a start in the other league.
A few cup starts or whatever, yeah.
Yep. So, and see what he's got. But, like the perfect age to get a player like this, it just really it's the perfect timing for us to get players like this. So, I mean, it's a shame he's not in one of the teams that they're playing when Wrexham come down here. Yeah. So, but now it's really interesting. What I find now is at this point in time is I want to do the same thing we did yesterday, Aaron. I want to know who's your favourites out of today. And Patty, who Patty liked out of all of our picks today?
Yeah, Patty, you go first. What do you think?
Okay. There we are.
Bundu, yeah, I like Bundu. I love Aaron's pick.
Yeah.
Anyone else for you?
Let me have a look. Jamie Donley, I just like the young guys. Give them a chance. I think we need to spend a little bit, give them a chance. But that's me and the gambler style. Weiper. I do like the look of this kid. His stats are pretty nice, actually. Height, everything else. Yeah, I kind of like him. Marcus Harness, Oli McBurnie. Do you know what? I don't think we've gone crazy enough.
As in dollars wise? As in like
I think we probably played this one a little safe. Where's our 10 million striker? Where's our 8 million, 6 million?
I didn't.
We didn't.
It's tough, dude. It's so tough. I was looking and it's like it's tough to figure. Okay, here's the problem. Most of those players that are like that are under contract, and those teams aren't going to want to let them go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if they're worth that much and they're out of contract, they're on the way down in their career.
Yeah.
Or if they're out of contract, they're on the way. They're heading the wrong way. If not, they're probably going to the Premier League, or at least they're one. If you're at the top end of the championship and you're scoring goals, and you're young, say you're 28 or younger, you're thinking, I'm going that way. I'm not going to the team that just popped into the championship. You know what I mean? Like, and I understand that. I get that. Like, you're thinking, I want to go to the Premier League. And so we've attracted that's why I struggled. I struggled so much with this.
Aaron, we've attracted those players previously with the Wrexham factor. Obviously now it's probably a little bit harder to do because we're at the pointier end of the pyramid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's only 20 clubs in the Premier League, and if you can get on one, I mean, you got to do it. If you think you can do it, and that's what's tough. Like the guys that are scoring a bunch of goals in the championship they're heading up that way.
Did Luke watch yesterday's show? Holy dilly! I lived in South America yesterday.
Yeah. What? We already did the Japanese. He started the show. The Japanese player. What are we doing? Luke, you gotta go back and watch. You gotta turn around, go back, watch yesterday's show, and actually watch all three. Watch Wednesday's show and Thursday's show, or Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Yeah. And so for me, like I want Fujimoto coming out of injury. I think it's a worthwhile risk. I want Weiper and I want Archie Goodwin. And of Aaron's, my pick is Bundu. Like I looked at him myself, and he just didn't make the way I wanted to do my list today because I wanted to stay away from the EFL, but I really like him, Aaron. I think that's a great choice.
Yeah, I agree. I for me, it would probably be Bundu is probably my favorite, and then honestly, it's kind of a hard pick. I'd almost say Hardie, so almost get them both if you could, which is weird, considering they came off the same team. Because I know,
I'm going to go with some highlights on Hardie. The Fujimoto highlights are
I'll watch some.
They are cracking.
Jamie Donley, though. Jamie Donley on loan. I think I'd love to have him on loan.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been fun today. And like Paddy said, we didn't go that big number. Like, should we? I mean, I know we're going to do a rumours show. We might. What do you think we do a special show and we go and pick like just a short one, like 3 players each, and they got to be 10 mil plus.
Yeah, like we said, it's very hard to find them. But in general, everybody, yes, we are going to do some extra shows. So this is our own little defense, midfield, and attack. We are going to do the rumor show. So we're actively going to look through people we have been linked to. And depending on how much work we do with it, we may be rating them for a couple of different elements. Like, is it a load of agent bullshit, or is this actually a real rumor? Might we see them in a shirt? So we're looking at that at the moment. Not sure when exactly, but it will be soon. And we'll look at maybe 1 or 2 other types of shows as well regarding players. Here's one. Let me know if you would like us to go through the players that other teams have purchased or contracted this season. What I was thinking might be fun, if you put loads of comments in for it, is to go through those players and see would we want them in our team and what level they're at. Would they improve our team? Would they not improve our team? Because at least we will be playing against these people this season. So I thought that might be fun. Might have to wait a little bit on that until a few more people do get contracted.
Yeah. And I think like Wrexham are supposed to be playing. Are they supposed to be playing 1 game before they come down to Australia?
A few different rumors. Originally, I heard that I think one of the managers, I'm not sure which interview, said it'll be 1 before and 1 after. I have heard Parky say 2 after.
I heard 2 after.
Come back. Yeah, but I've also heard 1 before and 1 after. So okay. it could possibly be 1 before and 2 after if they actually get to arrange them. So
they may try to do something. Who was it we played? It was the lower league team that we played? I can't remember who it was last season. We went away and played it.
Just before
real small. Yeah, it was a real. They're in like the, way down.
And the reason I asked that was because we're pretty much exactly 6 weeks away from the first game in Australia, which means for everybody out there just itching to see us play again. If they do play 1 before, well, that's only 5 weeks away.
Yeah. Madal has put a comment there saying it's Everton and Wolverhampton both away. That's an interesting question because yes, I've heard that as well. Lots of people have heard that, and it has been debunked by
both of them. Or I thought
Everton. So Humphrey Kerr was asked on a radio show directly about Everton, and he said no, we're not playing Everton.
Oh, okay.
Look, he could be lying. I'm not saying I've never seen him lie on these things, so we'll see. But he said no, we're not playing Everton. Now, maybe the wording was something like, I haven't heard they were playing Everton or something silly, like he's not involved and therefore hasn't heard it or whatever. However, it's not like him to go out on an interview like that and say something definitively no without it being true. So who knows? Maybe true, maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before we get out of here, drop in the chat who your favorites are. Who do you want us to sign? Who do you think of the players we had? Even if you're watching us back later on, drop it in there. Say who you think you like. If there's anybody we missed that you think we should have talked about, or you think that we didn't talk about that you think would be a good addition, throw them in the chat or in the comments after. Get in there. All the more like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Yeah. If you're not in the Discord, get across to that. That's been going nuts the last week.
Yeah, it's been busy.
I can't keep up.
Yeah, it's hard to I get in there and I have to. It's got to spend 10 minutes catching up. But
okay, guys, hit the like, hit the subscribe, do all that stuff that we never ask you to do, because I'm asking you today. And if you see my friend McAtee, give him a wave and ask him how he's enjoying League One next season. Yeah, take care, guys. Have a good night, and we are out.
On that box.